Hello everyone, welcome to my new video. The story goes like this: a wife cheats his husband and demands so many things. Now the story begins. I'm in my 30s, married to my wife, also in her 30s, and our journey has been quite a roller coaster. We dated for 6 years before finally tying the knot, and those 3 engagement years felt like a lifetime due to the pandemic delaying our wedding plans. Now, let's talk about my wife's mental health. She's been dealing with depression, ADHD, and anxiety for as long as I've known her. The pandemic didn't help. It made her feel isolated and anxious, especially when her family had a health scare. On top of that, she lost her job, although she quickly found a new remote one with unpredictable hours. Throughout our relationship, I've tried my best to support her. She once told me I was the only one who made her feel like she could become her true self. However, things took a turn after our wedding. She caught COVID and suffered from long-lasting symptoms, both physically and mentally. It was a tough period, and we thought she'd recovered after a few months. But then, she got COVID again and went through the same ordeal. We decided to be extra cautious, wearing masks everywhere and sitting outside during the winter months. Despite our efforts, she spiraled into a deeper depression. She eventually took a leave from work, and during that time, I took over the household chores while juggling a full-time job. During her leave, she tried various things to feel better, like taking classes, but the only consistent activity was yoga. Her sleep schedule went haywire due to depression, leading to late nights and napping during the day. She started attending late yoga classes and then would head to bars afterward or meet up with friends. It often extended into the early hours of the morning. I was concerned that this was an unhealthy coping mechanism, impacting her sleep and overall well-being. I tried talking to her about it, but she became defensive, making it challenging to address the issue effectively. I even suggested she discuss it with her therapist, but it didn't come up much in our couples therapy sessions, which mainly focused on past traumas and de-escalation techniques. Things took a devastating turn when I stumbled upon some unsettling texts on her phone. It turned out she'd been involved with other people while we were married, and it broke my heart. Despite the pain, I decided to work on our relationship. The next day was tough, but we managed to talk things out. Her therapist even suggested that her actions weren't representative of who she truly was, that she was feeling trapped and craving attention, and that her leave from work was helping her mental health. However, our discussions took a turn for the worse when she wanted to consider her job after a yoga class, just 5 days after the revelation. She delayed her return home repeatedly, and I became worried. I confronted her in person, expressing my fears about her actions and my need for trust to be rebuilt. Although I don't think she cheated that time, the trust was shaken. In the following days, she distanced herself even more. She stayed out late, slept on the couch, and communicated only semi-vague plans with me. She claimed she needed space, and although she still texted "I love you," she hadn't said those words in a week. I was terrified that she wanted to separate entirely, not only for my sake but for her own, since she'd been struggling with suicidal thoughts. I began to suspect that she was projecting her parents' relationship issues onto ours. Her therapist, it seemed, was encouraging some form of separation, but I believed my wife might be withholding some details during her therapy sessions, like her infidelity and how often she went out drinking alone. Our upcoming couples therapy session felt like a make or break moment. I worried she might demand separation and label me as controlling, despite my genuine concern for her well-being. Our journey has been far from perfect, with our share of arguments, but my primary goal has always been her happiness and health. I hope she understood that and could see the bigger picture beyond just my suggestions, such as coming home by midnight for better sleep and mental well-being. In summary, our story is a challenging one, filled with ups and downs intensified by the pandemic and my wife's mental health struggles. While our love is evident, communication and boundaries have become significant roadblocks in our relationship. Despite the hardships, my ultimate goal. Now let's look at some people's advice on this situation. Uncle Voodoo says, "It's a difficult decision to contemplate, but I strongly recommend considering filing for divorce as soon as possible. She has already enlisted the support of a therapist who has reassured her regarding her actions, and unfortunately, once a reputation is tarnished, it tends to linger. She may continue to justify her behavior and believe that you owe her everything she can extract from you. I speak from personal experience, and if there's one regret I carry with me in life, it's not taking action when my spouse cheated. I held on to the belief that we could repair our relationship, but it ultimately cost me my home, my children, and the financial security of 15 years ahead. Please don't repeat my mistake. His wife 10 says, you are deeply immersed in this situation, making it challenging to gain a clear perspective. It's evident that you've made sincere efforts to support her through her mental health struggles, but it appears she hasn't yet taken the initiative to help herself. It's crucial to recognize that you cannot compel her to seek help. It must come from her own desire. While you may not be intentionally restraining her, she might feel as though the marriage itself is confining her. It's possible that her near-death experience prompted a shift in her perspective, leading her to prioritize her desires even if they are self-destructive and hurtful to you. It's essential to acknowledge that you cannot single-handedly rectify this situation. If she isn't committed to healing your marriage, attempts to control or change her will only push her further away. Your mental health and well-being are equally important. You've already placed a significant emphasis on her needs. Rebuilding a relationship after infidelity necessitates more than just feelings of shame or guilt from the unfaithful partner. It requires genuine remorse and a willingness to go above and beyond to mend the relationship. Based on your description of her behavior since the discovery, it appears she is far from displaying genuine remorse. Instead, she seems inclined to place blame on you, attempting to avoid feeling guilty or putting in the necessary effort to make amends. It's a common analogy, but attempting to tightly grasp sand only leads to more loss. I strongly recommend redirecting your focus towards your own healing and mental well-being. Continuously pursuing her, accommodating her, and trying to change her trajectory may lead to your own physical and emotional deterioration. It might be worth considering a period of separation to allow both of you to find clarity and healing independently. 666 says, I really feel for you, man. You come across as quite self-aware and kind. It really is unfair that you didn't find those same qualities in a partner that you've dedicated significant time to, but you have to understand that there is nothing you can do to change that. You can't change her or